talk about. But let's like quickly go over the stuff in here for those of you that are just hanging out and want to see my thoughts on the Railjack stuff. So we're just gonna go through this stuff in order and talk about the different pieces of this, as it were. God, my hair is so long. Ugh. Need to upgrade the Chairzyme. It had an upgrade. It had a JoJo blanket on it, but that's on me right now. Oh, I didn't see this stuff. Yeah, there's some stuff in here. Here, 1 second before we get into this. We're gonna change the musics. We're just gonna change this to the chill mode. Okay. So, okay. Where do we start in this? I guess we're just gonna break this down in a really basic way of like what's gonna happen and if that's good or not. So what will happen on login, more accessible. So this basically boils down to everything in Railjack is gonna be cheaper. Building the Railjack is gonna be cheaper. Building the parts for the Railjack is gonna be cheaper. The whole thing is gonna be cheaper. Also, avionics to mods. So basically the whole avionics system looked completely different, was kind of a mess. And they're just converting it straight across into just being a mod system. It's very familiar, very normal. And also with that, they are converting all of the Direct into Endo. So these will use Endo now. So whenever you're getting into Railjack, you can just use the resource that you've already built up to then level your stuff in Railjack and not have to farm this entirely different system in order to get the specific system-only material that levels the system. This will mean that people are more able to get their Railjack leveled up and up to snuff, so that stuff's good. Also, with this Plexus system, they are disentangling what the host has done from what each different player has done for the most part. So what that means is basically instead of having it be where like all of your different like components and stuff and like weapon modding and like what abilities you've chosen for your Railjack are just whatever the host has figured out and put onto their Railjack. Instead, the host is going to have a new hull component where they're going to have the health, armor, and shields and all of the kind of base stuff for their Railjack. But your mods are going to apply to the stuff that they've brought, and the mods that you're bringing are honestly probably the more impactful ones. I still think there might be some funky stuff with you bringing a Railjack that maybe doesn't have the best hull or whatever, and there might be some friction between players with that, but overall I think it's going to be really, really minor, because if the reductions to how hard it is to build these different components of the Railjack are as like drastic as they seem to be implying that they are, it'll be really easy for people to build a tier 3 hull and just get on with it and move forward. And it might even be drastic enough that tier 1 and tier 2 items will be actually worth building. That stuff seems like good things that are going on in here. And then also the Plexus can be modded in several locations, so you don't have to go to the fucking dry dock all the time. It can just be configured in this new spot in the orbiter. And also they're adding dry docks to a couple of different relays, which is definitely good for people that either don't want to be in a clan or whatever else. Direct Endo, just going over that here. Intrinsic stuff. So intrinsic stuff I have a lot of opinions on. I'm just gonna like very quickly go over like the kind of changes to intrinsic stuff, because obviously I have the list of ones we have right now here. So the level 1 of stuff, we'll just go over these in like different parts. Tactical mods and crew tracking, Warframe ability accessible from this menu, fast travel within the Railjack, Omni gear can be used to warp aboard the ship. Those are all the same 1 through 4. On rank 5, we get the crew chase camera, which you get that in level 1 here. And then at level 5, you get Necromechs become deployable in all Railjack missions. So as of right now, to my knowledge, we have confirmation that this is Necromechs become deployable in just Railjack missions and not all regular missions, which is really weird that, one, they would add the thing that they've been promising to add as a feature to Intrinsics, and also that it's going to be only Railjack missions. If it's all missions, then great, but I really still don't understand why that feature is being added through Intrinsics as opposed to just being a feature that they add to the game, as that is what has been stated for a long time. So I don't really understand this one, why this is here or anything else. Probably would be better to have something more meaningful here. But moving on, we also have tactical mod energy cost and tactical mod cooldown. That stuff is the same. They're worded a little bit differently here, but those are identical. And then the tactical blink is the same here as well. And then the more tactical changes are the same. And then the warp to crew member on tactical screen is the same as well. This ability is like a definite worthy level 10 ability and is very good. So outside of this one weird one here at rank 5 being this, which seems like a very, very weird change, this is pretty good. Like this I feel like should just be something more meaningful, and this should just be a baseline feature, but it is what it is. Tactical was the one in like the least need of help. In terms of piloting, we have some important things to note before we talk about piloting, and that is that stamina is gone from all Railjack stuff in general. There's no more stamina. You can boost as much as you want, but the change to that is that the pilot cannot shoot while boosting, which is going to be important for us going over piloting and also gunnery. So we have boost, dodging, 25% less damage while boosting, and then drifting. If we look at piloting, boost, dodging, this one is different. Nearby enemy projectiles lose lock-on during vector maneuver. Just raw damage reduction is definitely better than that, so that's an improvement. And then drift is on rank 4. Looking at the next few, on 5 we have a vacuum radius while boosting and dodging. And then we also have a loot dungeon radar, which we don't have a lot of details on, but sounds like a good thing to have on an intrinsic. Being able to pick up your items more easily is nice there. On 5 in here, that's where our drift is. So we also have damage due to collisions reduced by 50%. This one was actually removed. So drift is 1 lower. That's my bad. And then below that, we have a 6 through 10 here, which we have evasive pilot, where ram sleds have a chance to miss. It's kind of whatever. The rank 6 in here deals with how long you can boost for, so stamina being gone, obviously that doesn't matter. Rank 7 also deals with stamina. So now we have instead necromech speed plus 10%. 10%, it seems like a little less meaningful than it probably could be. Necromechs are pretty slow, so I probably would have liked to see this at parity with the Arcwing speed increase that's at the next rank, which is remaining the same. And then the Railjack takes 25% less damage while boosting, and collisions do 2,000 extra damage. So that's a combination of ranks 9 and 10 as they stand right now, where the damage reduction goes up by 15%, so that's nice. And then we have the damage 2,000 on 10 here, which is being replaced with the Railjack Blink. So this seems like it's going to be a huge benefit. Obviously, it's just going to be a way for the Railjack to move around even faster, and seems like on paper it's going to be an ability that deserves to be at rank 10, just like Warp to Crew Member on tactical screen. Those are both very, very good abilities, so those seem to be in line. Generally, I think that the piloting one has been improved maybe the most out of any of these, with some like very minor considerations for like maybe a little bit more necromech speed than 10%. But it's not like it's a terrible ability or anything, like a downside to have in this slot. In terms of gunnery, we have some stuff. So for general gunnery changes, the turrets on the Railjack are being moved with the whole Railjack squish that we're getting, where they're removing a floor of the Railjack to kind of keep everything closer together and make it easier to get around your Railjack and get to the important things faster. With that, the turrets on the Railjack are no longer on the left and the right. They are on the top and the bottom, which should make it more comfortable for while the Railjack is flying around for you to be in line with the pilot, and you won't have any like weird warbliness with that. And also it makes more sense for the rank 2 ability to aim in a 360. So we have the target lead indicators, which is the same, the 360 aiming, which is the same, and then the high velocity Arcwing deployment into combat, and then slingshot Arcwing damages fighters and penetrates enemy cruise ship hulls. So we have some differences pretty immediately here. At rank 3, they're combining the 3 and 4 previously to enable the slingshot and also have it pierce the hull. 360 view and this are the same. Arc melee weapons gain increased range and damage. I mean, unless this increased range and damage is somewhere in the margin of like 10,000% a piece, I think that this is probably a huge waste. Arc melee needs like a complete fundamental overhaul and complete rethink from the ground up in order to be something that I think anyone would have any chance of using this millennia. So this is probably a complete waste of a slot. So don't have to think about this any point in our lives in the future. Necromech gun damage increases. This is probably like fine. Necromechs are going to be important for the Orphix mission type and stuff. And in general, I think people have responded well to Necromechs and they do good damage. So them doing more damage is of a benefit. So that's good. We have that instead of control the forward mounted artillery cannon, which you're going to have by default. And then at rank 6, we have reduced turret heat accretion by 20%. So that is the same here. And then also the slingshot arcwing damages. Yeah, we have that. Those are replaced as well. So yeah, these are all replaced with the kind of new stuff. And the rank 6, the heat accretion is the same. And rank 7, we have slingshot range up, gun overheat time down, which is the same. And then for vengeful arcwing, I think there's actually a typo here. It says arcwing damage, strength, range, efficiency plus 20%. On here, it's worth noting that damage is plus 25% actually, and the rest are 20%. I would attribute that to just being a typo, though. It's probably meant that this ability just stays the same, and it was a really easy mistake to make in general to kind of just shorthand it all to 20%. And then at 9, under review may stay the same. This is where we start getting into some of the stuff that like really needs to be fixed with this system, because 9 is drifting reduces weapon heat buildup by 50% while increasing weapon damage by 50%. Okay, problem. As the pilot, you literally can't shoot while boosting / drifting anymore. So why would this stay the same? Like, I know, obviously, the gunners can shoot while you're drifting, but, like, this also needs to be a good ability for people who play solo. And I don't know if I, like, entirely trust, like, the AI we're getting from command to shoot at the right targets. So realistically, I think that this ability should just remove the word drifting. Like, reduce weapon heat buildup by 50%, increase weapon damage by 50%. Or, like, at least keep one part of these. Like, make it just so it's weapon heat buildup reduced by 50%. Like, just half of it. Even that would be fine. Because we also have a problem on rank 10, which is aim snaps turrets to the nearest lead indicator. So already as it stands, this is a terrible rank 10 ability. So what we're getting as a new rank 10 ability is aim snaps turret to lead indicator, right? Lock-on lasts much longer than before with small added cost to weapon heat. I'm sorry, am I spending 1,024 intrinsics to get here and then getting a fucking downside? Like, this ability already wasn't good, and this is actually making it worse. Like, this ability makes me ask the question whether or not I should spend these 512 to get this last ability so that whenever this update comes out, I can respec and never level into this ability, because that ability sucks. Like, at the very least, like, I want the mastery out of this, so, like, let me turn this shit off. Like, this sucks actively. It would literally be better to take what this ability does and just put increases weapon damage by 50% into rank 10 and call it a day. Like, put reduces weapon heat buildup 50% and then increases weapon damage 50%. Make that rank 9, rank 10, and then move the fuck on. Because I just want this reflex aim shit gone. It actively sucks. Like, what would be better? Like, there's so many things that could be better in this slot. Like, anything. Your weapons in your Railjack have 20% more crit. They have 10% more crit. 1% more damage. Anything's better than a downgrade. So, like, this is trash now, and this is worse. This is the number one thing that has to not come out of this workshop the same. Because it is actively very, very bad. Like, I would rather have literally anything else but this ability, because it's real bad. It is not good. Like, literally give me something that doesn't do anything as opposed to this. I would rather have it do nothing. So yeah, this one's real bad and is in the most dire need of change. Moving on to engineering, we have a lot of the same stuff. Accelerated hazard suppression, forge flux energy in real time. So this is fast repair zombie tool, 50% reduction in air support cooldowns. So for those of you that don't know, air support cooldowns are the things that your landing craft can do. So like the hacking that you get just at base level, and you could drop a turret and you could drop a healing pylon, and it's a bunch of stuff that no one uses. So reducing the cooldown of those things by 50% really isn't going to like move the needle on these at all, and super doesn't matter. But they're getting rid of flux energy, and you're going to be just using your Warframe's energy to power the abilities of the Railjack. So they had to do something with this, and I guess it's kind of an ability. Like, Nora's ship gives the sleep happen, but it just sucks. It's just not good. yeah, it's just not great. There's no reason for this to be a thing. Like, occasionally you'll hit the Ortis, stop the hack in this rescue mission or whatever because the alarms are going off, but it's basically worthless in 99.9% of scenarios, and even in that 1%, it's not going to be very good. In addition to that, we have crafting ordnance and crafting dome charges. That is replenish combat ordnance while deployed, which is the same, and then forge yields is on here. That's just changed to crafting dome charges, so you get that one earlier, and then crafting heals for the Railjack. That's new, so that's a thing in here. And then forge processing speed, we have yield and then cooldowns, forge output, and then the Arcwing ability is the same. And then refinement yields is being changed to necromech buffs, which is 25% more health and 25% more shields, which is fine. Those are like perfectly fine things to add to the necromechs. Make them a little bit tougher, so sure. And then rank 10 is staying the same with remotely repairing onboard hazards. I wish that this had like... This should probably be a little bit better than this, I would say. I would say instead of remotely repair onboard hazards, I would rather see this ability have a cooldown, and it would just automatically repair onboard hazards. And then that could stack on a per-player basis. So if you have 4 players that are all maxed out engineering, you'd have, like, let's say, 120-second cooldown for whenever one of those happens. It just gets cured automatically. I think that would be a really good thing to have at the top of the engineering, because no one really wants to go into their menu and remotely do it. And as it stands right now, this also costs extra materials. So it's usually the thing where you just run over an Omni tool the spot anyway, because it costs you extra. That might not matter as much because we're going to have self-regenerating of the different things that we need, like ammo and all that business, and it's going to be separate per player. So maybe that this will be something that sees more use, but also with the smaller size of the Railjack, I really would like to see this be more of an automatic ability where you don't have to take your attention off of what you're shooting at in order to have your ship not explode. That might be a better thing as a reward for maxing out this particular intrinsic. Other stuff, the command intrinsic. So the command intrinsic basically boils down to being you can hire these different characters from the syndicate and level them up. They're going to have different things that they start off with at base, and you're going to be able to make them better over time with competency points, which probably won't be called that whenever it fully comes out. But basically, you're going to be able to hire these crew members and put them into your crew. And while you are not in co-op with other players, so if you're at any player count that's less than 4, these guys are going to be helping you on your ship and doing stuff. They can use turrets, they can repair stuff, and they can do all those things that you probably want them to do. How good they're going to be is yet to be seen, and also the full tree of the command intrinsics have yet to be seen as well. Hopefully they're pretty good, especially for helping out solo players kind of have less nonsense to deal with and taking a little bit off of them, so that's good. Oh, they got rid of the extra material cost for the remote repairs, I'm being told in chat, so that's good news. Okay, if there's no extra cost, then that'll be pretty good, especially with the regeneration. And then this is the hull that I was talking about before. Basically, this is going to be how you're going to get your armor and HP, and that's going to be separated out of like the modding system, so that's going to be one of the things that the host brings into the mission. I don't think it's going to be too much of a problem overall. One of the other things that's really notable here is that because your energy of your Warframe and your energy economy of your Warframe are going to be what's powering the Railjack's abilities and such, that means that the reactor is now going to be governing strength, range, and those types of stats instead of how much energy you have and how many avionics you can put in, because all that stuff is like a regular modding screen now that you will be forming and doing that stuff too. So that's good, and you'll have kind of more power in general on the Railjack just from those kinds of changes. And then there are some early adopter stuff for people that have done things so far in Railjack. For any clan that has a dry dock, you're going to get this big statue that is available just to build in your dojo. So there's that. And then we have player has completed 1 or more wreckage or clan BP tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3. So there's some interesting things to note in here. Completed 1 or more wreckage or clan blueprint, tier 1. And then this is player has completed at least 30 wreckage, tier 3. So this one, everything in tier 1 and tier 2, 3x rush repair drones, legendary core, Umbra Forma, Railjack Rooster Spindle 3. So you'd want the legendary core and you want the Umbra Forma probably for most players. I don't think there's a good way to tell right now whether or not you've completed at least 30 wreckage. And I think for a lot of people that like actually played a lot of Railjack, like you saw, I have maxed out Intrinsics. I don't know if I've made 30 wreckage. I literally, I don't have any idea. Like, should this instead be you have a max level of everything in all your slots on your Railjack? Like, do you have a tier 3 guns, and you have a tier 3 reactor, and you have a tier 3 of all these items? That's probably a little bit more quantifiable for players. As it stands, like, completed 30 wreckage seems pretty confusing, and it's whether or not it's 30 wreckage. Is that every different tier of wreckage, or is it only tier 3 wreckage that we need 30 of? This needs more clarification in general, and is pretty confusing, because I think for a lot of, like, should this instead be like an intrinsic level that you need? Like, do you need at least level 6 in all of your intrinsics in order to qualify for tier 3? Does valence fusion count is a question that's being asked in chat. Like, these are all questions that really matter here, because I know for me personally, I have the materials necessary to like do 30 wreckage. I could probably just send that out and do a bunch of tier 1s if I need to. If I just don't know how to get my count. And I would like to have a legendary core and a number forma and everything else that is in tier 1 and tier 2. I would like to get all of these things. 10,000 endo sounds nice. Like there's some decent stuff in here, especially a resource booster and an affinity booster that you'll get whenever this update launches that you would probably want for the update. Like there's things that I would want in here, and it seems like really vague on how to get that stuff, or if I already am going to get that stuff. So I'd really like to see that clarified, or maybe the requirements changed to be something that we can more easily identify. In addition to that, there's matchmaking changes. They're trying to streamline Railjack matchmaking. This is obviously very good. Basically, if you're trying to start a mission and there's like no missions there, you can just start it with your Railjack, which is fine. They're just trying to make it so people can get together better. That's also being affected by them having the dry docks out in the relays. I think it's on 3 relays, which, I don't know, there's an argument for that spreading players out too much, but we'll see how that really boils down whenever we're actually in game with the update, of course. So there's that. And then anything else in here? Yeah, this is just going over the different stuff on the Warframe energy being used for your battle and tactical abilities. That stuff I think is a really good change. It's going to make it so you can use your abilities a lot more actively, and we can use a lot of the energy generation techniques that we already run right now, such as like dispensary, energize, energy pads, Zeneric, etc., to get our energy up to be able to use our abilities a lot in the Railjack. That's probably going to make the ability use of the Railjack a lot better, and also might mean that like Hildren's a really good pilot. We don't really know what's going to happen with the newest Warframe, the Alchemist Warframe that I don't remember the name of right now. Lavos. Thank you in chat for reminding me. Already forgot his name. What's going to happen with Lavos and his like cooldowns, if that's going to give cooldowns to the Railjack or whatever else is going to happen. That'll be yet to be seen, but maybe Hildren's a really good pilot. That one seems like it would translate pretty 1-to-1 for her being really good, because shield regeneration is very fast for her. Other stuff in here. Railjack malfunctions and hazards. These now do different things. Electrical hazards scramble your minimap and disable the tactical menu. Hull breaches deal damage to all players on board until it's sealed. Ice hazards freeze interactive elements like the pilot seat and all this other business. Fire hazards cause weapons to overheat quicker and cool down more slowly, which is a real pain in the ass. And then hull ruptures have been completely removed. So this stuff is all like a little bit more meaningful in what it does, but it doesn't do anything that is like really like disastrous, but it's all stuff that you would want to get rid of. There's that. And also really important and just so good that they're doing this. Unified damage types. They're removing all the Railjack only damage types that only were there to confuse players. Ballistic is becoming impact, plasma is puncture, particle is slash, frost is cold, ionic is electricity, incendiary is heat, chemical is toxin. Everything is going back to the way that you now know and enjoy it in regular Warframe. There's not some bullshit ass conversion to worry about anymore. So much better this way. So much better this way, that it's things that people know what they do. So that's good. No more obtuse nonsense in here. Also, this is part of the potentially bad that's in here, but I understand why they're doing this part. Node changes. So the nodes in Railjack, are split across Earth, Saturn, Veil Proxima. There's choice, but no real meaningful choice, with the only option being skirmish, or at least it seems that way until you memorize what points of interest live on what nodes. It comes down to too much repetition of a small set of nodes and a lot of Railjack just being ignored. For what we believe to be a healthier new direction for Railjack, we are making some changes by removing some existing Grenier nodes. This includes the removal of the Gian Point node, a decision that was not made lightly, but in the interest of improving the variety of missions played, we felt it was a necessary step. Essentially taken what was good about Gian Point, a quick turnaround mission with high affinity reward, and put it into the objectives of Railjack itself, so that the diversity of content gets played in more than just one node over and over and over again. The addition of the Corpus Proxima regions will introduce many new missions to play, and it'll say more than skirmish. We'll also be adding Corpus missions to the deep reaches of space in the Veil Proxima. So, Gian Point was just the exterminate. You're done with the exterminate. The mission is over. You get the reward. This is the mission that people generally ran whenever they just wanted to get the reactor. Please give me the reactor. There's no extra objectives on Gian Point. You just get the loot you're looking for and get out. Also, it gave a good amount of affinity. So, the stuff that they're saying here is a quick turnaround mission with high affinity reward and put it into the objectives of the Railjack itself. There is a potential world where I think the removal of this node is a good thing. I want to clarify that I don't know how much hope I have that that stuff will happen. But what needs to happen here in order to make this worth it is on a different node where you have your main objective, or one of your objectives be kill 6 of the main ships and 60 of the little ships, and then also destroy this node here, or destroy this emplacement here, or do whatever else. All of that stuff, those extra objectives, need to give a rotation reward and also need to give a big burst of affinity. Like, it has to do both. Like, those extra objectives are a complete extra objective that usually takes a decent amount of time to do. As long as they make those rewarding, which I have some doubts that that will happen, then I think I'll be really happy with this. And it'll be like, okay, doing more varied objectives in Railjack is the same amount of rewarding as just spamming the same objective over and over. I think that's healthy for the game, and I can understand why they would go in this direction. It just depends on the reward structure that they're using. Because if we get this mission has extra objectives and no extra rewards, then why? That just, we're getting less for doing more, and that's the reason why Gian Point is such a popular node. Like, that is literally the reason why. So if they can fix that on a more fundamental level by giving rewards for those extra objectives, I think instead you'll see a different thing come around where the mission with the most extra objectives is the one people would tend towards, and would also probably be the most healthy one for the game. Like, if you open up a mission and it's like, okay, what are we doing? Well, I gotta kill the 6 ships, I gotta kill the 60 fighters, I gotta like get here and kill the captain, I gotta go disable this giant gun, and somebody's gotta go over onto that ship and shut down like the shield array or whatever. Like, if you're setting it up in such a way where it's like, okay, 4 people enter this mission, they split up, everybody gets these rewards, everybody does it efficiently, and everyone's doing all these different things at once, and none of those objectives are mobile defense, then I think we're going to be in a situation where that's really, really fun and super exciting to play. That would just be a better... That's better than Gian Point as a baseline, which is like a really rote, very basic exterminate type mission. If we get into that world, I'll be super happy with it. I don't know if we're going to get into that world, though, where that will be the most worth it thing to do, which would be nice. So then we also have the What Will Keep Me Playing. This is a weird title for this thing to put in here, but it's an important question, so we're going to go through here. Corpus Railjack is here. These robots and crewmen taking to the skies will greatly expand the Proxima star chart. 3 new planets, Venus, Neptune, and Pluto, will introduce new enemies, new points of interest, and more. There will also be the most difficult missions for Corpus Railjack added to the Veil Proxima. So the main question that I have for this right off the bat is whether or not we're going to start on Earth and then go through all of these to get to the Veil Proxima. Like, did we add 3 more planets that are in front of the Veil Proxima? Or are there multiple routes to get to the Veil Proxima? Or are there now 2 halves of the Veil Proxima that you'll have to do the Grenier side to get to this half and the Corpus side to get to this half? What's going on there is yet to be seen. But that stuff I think is important, whether or not tier 3 items for the Railjack are still the endpoint, or if there's like a new tier 4 that they're adding that is like the new Veil Proxima, and tier 3s are maybe some of the later Corpus planets or something as it stands right now. We don't know that information, but it seems weird to just add 3 lower level planets that are Corpus missions even though they're going to be adding Corpus missions, obviously, to the Veil Proxima itself. That's a weird one. Also with this, we'll be diversifying the types of missions available in our efforts to further combine the Railjack experience with regular Warframe gameplay. Some of these new mission types will already be familiar. Classic defense and exterminate modes will occasionally be the main objective of a Railjack mission. Fight your way into the capital ship as a team and extract back to Railjack upon completion. So I'm a little bit worried about like this setup of stuff here. I need to know, as a player, what is my incentive for starting up a Railjack mission, breaking my way into a capital ship, and then doing a defense mission? How much better do the rewards in a defense mission need to be if I need to break into the capital ship to get there, instead of just spawning into that mission? They need to be pretty significantly better, I think, and I think that's going to be hard to do. Personally, I'm not a huge fan of defense. So the rewards are going to have to be like pretty spicy for that to be a thing that I personally care too much about. But if the rewards are there, I think it'll be worth combining those two game modes together. And then for exterminate, the question becomes like, again, what, like right now, if you do an exterminate on the regular star chart, you kind of literally get nothing. So what are we going to get for a Railjack and then an exterminate? Because the baseline rewards for an exterminate are nothing, and the baseline rewards for a Railjack mission are like just one part. So does the exterminate just add nothing and we don't get anything else? Or like, what are we doing there? That stuff we don't really have answers to, but the rewards obviously need to make sense for adding the Railjack into the mission. And then we're also adding two mission types. The first, known as Orphix, will be familiar to anyone who played the Orphix Venom event, so they're introducing that Orphix game mode into here. Take down the sentient invaders, making use of operators and necromechs to circumvent the nullifier pulse fields. Instead of earning event currency, these missions are planned to drop arcanes, offering an alternative to Eidolon capturing squads. So the drop rates that are available here is going to be like really, really important. I think the Orphix game mode is really good, so it'll be nice to see it here. If the rates on arcanes are pretty good, I could see this being a complete replacement to Eidolons, and I am mega sick of Eidolons, so that is very, very welcome. I could definitely see this being a thing that, like, our arcanes, getting them at, like, a good rate is definitely a reason to be like, I'm going to get the Railjack, we're going to get a squad together, we're going to get the necromechs, we're going to get everything together, and go in here, do the Orphix, get some arcanes, and roll that. That, I absolutely can immediately see the appeal of bringing all those systems together. I think that is a good idea. This is probably the part that gives me the most hope, because it seems like the mission has a reward planned that is easy to care about if the drop rates are decent, and it has a game mode that is good, that makes sense in the whole concept of just doing the whole thing. So that's really good. That one seems like it has the most promise out of everything that we're going to be getting in this new update. And then finally, a completely new mission type known as Volatile will offer the means to sabotage a capital ship, help Cephalon Psi from the inside by making use of the environment to cause a reactor failure, while fighting off engineers who can stop you. This, I mean, as a concept for a game mode, sounds good. We don't know what that's like actually going to look like yet, obviously, but I'm excited to try it out. And like, again, a lot of it comes down to if the rewards are good. But it does just kind of sound like sabotage, but it also just kind of sounds, it also kind of sounds like disruption. Like, you know what I mean? Known as Volatile, offer means to sabotage a capital ship. But like, instead of having Demolus, you have a guy come up and repair the thing that you're trying to break instead that you need to kill. Like, just disruption, but instead of exploding guys, it's guys that fix the ship. Literally says to sabotage a ship. Yeah, but that doesn't mean it's sabotage, just so that's clear to everyone. That saying sabotage does not mean it is the game type sabotage, just so that's clear. Could very easily be like a remix on disruption, and disruption is one of the best game types in the game. It's definitely like the best one they've introduced in recent memory, I would say. So this seems like it has potential. I definitely wouldn't write this off just because it says the word sabotage in it. And then what comes next? So this is Void Storms and Relics. So Void Storms were something that was going to be in this update that is no longer going to be in this update. So despite our original plans, we cannot ship Void Storms with the update due to the scope of changes and additions within the new Railjack, but that's okay. Thematically, they truly belong in Update 30, which is based on the Void Storms in many ways. When Void Storms do come, they'll offer 10 a way to use their Void Relics in Railjack missions. There'll be a rotating optional mission type to play, just like Fissure missions in the normal star chart, but much bigger and stormier. And of course, story behind the Void Storms and War will be revealed in the Call of Tempestari. Call of Tempestari is going to be the 30th update, or update 30. And that's going to have Sevagoth, the quest. It's going to have the Void Storms, etc., etc. That stuff's going to launch on all platforms simultaneously. Quest things are happening. Seems cool. Hopefully that stuff comes relatively soon on the heels of the Railjack changes and stuff. I really want to point out the stuff that's being said here is there'll be a rotating optional mission type to play, just like Fissure missions on the normal star chart, but much bigger and stormier. I think that this is definitely an opportunity, just based on what they've said here, for DE to be like, if you get your Railjack and you hit a Void Storm, you can take a bunch of relics and crack them all at once. Like, if you take, instead of a, like, 5-minute survival to everyone cracks one relic, you take a 5-minute Void Storm and everyone cracks 20 relics. That's a way for people to, like, get into their big backlogs of their relics and really open up a lot of that stuff that we just, like, don't have the time to run 500 missions to get through that. And it's also a way for that to be a dump for the extra relics that we have. Because as it stands right now, there's kind of a relic glut where everyone has so many relics to run. And this might make it a way for people to kind of clear out those inventories, which I could see DE seeing being healthy for the game going forward. And then also, of course, we know with the new Railjack stuff, some of the currently vaulted relics, such as Ash, are going to be available out in the rewards somewhere in here. So we know that that's going to have at least some value there to be able to get some of the items that have been vaulted for a while. So there's that stuff. And then we have just some kind of like end notes on getting into the Call of Tempestari. But yeah, overall, I think there's like a lot of good stuff here with like a couple of like really harsh spots. Like I think Command has promise. I think most of the problems are here in Intrinsics, mainly under the course of these two. Obviously, this is it's under review, may stay the same. So there's definitely wiggle room here, and they definitely do state that this is what it looks like now and maybe not what it will release as. I think there's definitely the option, like, or the possibility that these improve pretty considerably before we actually see the full release, which will be within the next couple of weeks here. And yeah, I think the one other thing that I would like to see is that with the conversion of Dirk to Endo, as it says here, avionics are now treated like regular mods. Dirk upgrade is being converted to Endo for a more cohesive upgrading experience. All Dirk spent on your grid will be reimbursed, so you'll get a bunch if you've maxed out your grid. You'll basically get a prime mod's worth. And then all existing Dirk stockpiles will turn into Endo on login. So any Dirk you have will 1-to-1 convert to Endo. The big question here is that Dirk was relatively easy to get in some pretty nice quantities. Is it going to be a direct conversion of Dirk to Endo in the new mission rewards and in like the caches that we would find in the Sentient missions and stuff? Because if it is, that means that there is some actual real like impact there for Railjack being a really good way to farm Endo and get your mods leveled, which I think would be a really, really good thing for Railjack to be, where it's like, oh, Railjack is the Endo farm that you eventually get to once you've built your Railjack and you power it up and you get to these later areas. Doing all that stuff and like making Railjack that farm, which doesn't really have a great place outside of Vodunoi right now, I think is a really good push for Railjack in general to give it more kind of long-term value. But yeah, there's definitely some potential there that I think isn't really clearly stated to be here that I hope is there. But yeah, overall, I think that like this stuff looks promising. I think it's going to be really simplified for a lot of people. I think that like there's good potential here. I think that it could go pretty well, and I like the position that Railjack is in from a fun perspective right now. And a lot of the changes they're making, like removing stamina and stuff, I think push it towards more of a fun direction, like the direction that I would want it to go in. So yeah, that's kind of the overview on the Railjack Dev Workshop on what we're going to be getting in the next couple weeks here. Mostly positives, I would say. I have enjoyed reading through the changes quite a bit. I think that's just going up on YouTube. What do you guys think? I think that was just a good breakdown of what's going on here.